Lord willing that the video chat works. We got Derek Morris with us. I just mentioned 1,107 games in the National Hockey League, and there he is. Hey, Mo, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. Do you guys hear me?
We hear you 100%. You sound great. You look great. How are things in Arizona?
Well, they're good. Weather's nice, but we're obviously under the same standards as everybody else with the quarantine and stuff. So it's a little bit different, but
You're making do. Yeah. Well, can you talk about, did it freeze? No, it's good. It's good, Mo. If it freezes, we're going to hang up and we're going to call you. So have your phone handy if you don't mind. But if you don't mind, I don't know when's the last time you and I talked. What's life been like since you hung him up from the National Hockey League? I just read your stats here. It's been a while since 2014. Yeah. What have you been doing?
Well, I never thought I'd be doing it, but I started coaching youth. So I jumped right in with my boys being involved in it, and started with my oldest, my middle one, and now I'm somewhat coaching my youngest one. So I'm in the youth hockey world.
Can you speak about the state of minor hockey in Arizona? A lot of kids coming out the pipeline, isn't there?
Yeah, you know what? We've been very fortunate that the numbers have grown like crazy here in the last little while. Obviously, having the Coyotes organization in the program in the city, teams seem to grow and the youth program's growing. Hockey's a wonderful sport, as we know, and people here are seeing that through the Coyotes, and then it's trickling down to youth hockey. So we got a really good group of coaches across the valley. A lot of pro guys that have played before that are doing it, to give back what we learned.
From Arizona, by the way, Mo, are you physically in Chandler or Scottsdale at the moment? Where are you at?
I live in Scottsdale, but I coach out in Chandler, so it's about a 40-minute drive each day there and back.
All right. So you were talking about the former NHLers that are coaching or former hockey pros with the minor hockey system there in the Scottsdale, Phoenix area. Who are the guys that are coaching with you?
Well, when I started, in 2013, there was a pile of us doing it, but obviously guys have moved on and off. Right now, we're down to, we might have probably 4 or 5 left right now. And our organization is all I could really speak for, but right now we have Brent Goff, who coached for the West Kelowna Warriors in the BC Junior Hockey League, and his life took him out here with his wife and everything, so he's an excellent coach.
Let me ask you this, with the current state of the NHL amid the coronavirus, how close are you following things? Are you glad that you're retired and not have to worry about it? And what do you see happening in the next 4 to 8 weeks, per se? Just a wild prediction.
That is a good question. I think the season, honestly, I would be surprised if it's going to be started up based on, if you look at Canada's structure in how they've handled the coronavirus, and you look at the United States, they're handling them differently. So right now we're quarantined in the United States here till April 30th, and then it'll be opened up supposedly after that. So that doesn't give much time for a season, that's for sure. I hope there is, because I'm missing watching hockey. The biggest thing I've noticed with being locked home is missing sports.
You know, how many Coyotes games do you get to on a regular basis?
Probably each year I probably only do 3 or 4. Most of the time I'm coaching. So I end up the times don't really match up, and we end up being out at the rink when the games are on. So I try to catch most of them on TV.
In a perfect world, Mo, if they got back to playing, finished the regular season, we talked about this earlier, would a best of 3 setup each round be sufficient for you to preserve the integrity of the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Every round, or
every round,
start to finish? Yeah, you know what? I didn't think that far across. I thought they'd have to for sure shorten the first round, to a 3-gamer, then maybe go 5, then maybe go 7 for the Stanley Cup. I don't know. That's a really good question. I know that's a lot of money out of the owners' pockets, but if they were willing to do something like that, I would take that over nothing, that's for sure.
And I think that's what they're looking at. Derek, I once asked you who was the toughest guy to defend in the NHL as a defenseman, and you played 1,107 games, not including playoffs. I'm going to ask you that now that you've been out long enough, 6 seasons now. Who was the toughest guy to stop coming down on you in the National Hockey League?
You know what? It kind of went through phases. I'd probably say when I started, when I was in Calgary, it was back in the day, Dallas was really strong. So Mike Modano had exceptional speed coming down the outside. Yager was one of the best back in the day. If you look at today's game, Crosby was extremely hard. I never played against McDavid, but Crosby, when the new rules started, was smart. He'd put the puck in the defenseman's feet and then just skate around the other side and get it from you if you dared look down and stuff. He was extremely strong in the corners. He controlled the game along the boards. I think that's why he's still, in my opinion, probably one of the, if not the best player in the NHL, all-around player in the NHL still. So Crosby right now.
Mo, I just got to say, you just proved my memory. He just nailed the two guys that I said, Modano and Yager, that you told me years ago, 20 years ago. Anyways, go ahead.
No, that's it. I was going to say, that's how you know it's real, because
Exactly.
it's consistent when you talk about those two guys.
Yeah. What do you got for him?
Well, in terms of coaching the kids, in Arizona, which I love that you're doing that now, Derek, how much has the game grown in that state and, across what you've seen in some of these non-traditional hockey markets in the United States? Because it just seems like it continues to grow and grow and grow every day.
Yeah, we definitely do. I think our biggest strength probably in Arizona right now is our AA hockey. As we get to like 16, 17, 18, our AAA teams are competitive. We have good players on there, but we're finding a lot of players can come out of state and play here too. For example, if a kid in Canada it's not working out, you can come in and bill it in Arizona and play AAA hockey. So the leagues that we play in are very good. The Tier 1 Elite League for the Coyotes team plays there, and then our program plays in the NAPHL, which is a big North American prospects hockey league. And so there are ways to, what these leagues have done is, like the NAPHL has generated a youth hockey program or league there, and they also have the NAHL, so they really try to promote kids from throughout the league and put them into the NAHL, the North American Hockey League. So the ways of getting there are different here probably than Canada, but they're a little bit, maybe, I can't really speak for Canada, but for here, from what I've seen, they're more advanced ways and easier ways, maybe not easier, but more productive ways to get kids to junior than Canada.
Derek, forgive me if I missed it. What are the ages of the kids you are coaching yourself?
This year, I've coached everywhere. I coached 18 AAA. I coached 16 AAA. I coached 13, 14 AA, 15, 16 AA. And now I'm coaching. Last year, I coached U12 AAA.
So what are these kids? They're obviously aspiring to the National Hockey League, but what do you see coming up? Is Canada going to be in trouble at the World Juniors and the Olympics and so forth moving ahead? What's the numbers like in terms of international hockey, and where is America compared to the other countries?
That's a good question. I know what they do in the United States is they have the the U.S. National Development Program team, and they take the top kids that are 16, 17, I believe they are, and they put the top 24, whatever, on this team for 2 years, and they play in the junior leagues and stuff. So as you saw 2 years ago in the draft, I think there was 17 kids or something off of that team that were American that got drafted to the NHL. So I feel, honestly, that it's a little bit misleading. I still am Canadian at heart, and I still believe Canada puts out the most and probably best players with the large amount that you have playing and the large amount that they're putting out. I don't see USA Hockey taking it away from Canada, but what USA Hockey is doing now is very proactive. They're very advanced on developing kids. Our USA Hockey, when we sign up in Canada, you have to buy all your lessons or whatever you need to do, I believe, through the Canadian Hockey. But in USA, they have an app. When you sign up, you get oodles of information. So I think what they're doing is informing coaches more here because they had to, and they're seeing that maybe we're getting a few more players now than we have in the past. But USA Hockey has pushed hard at developing children. So I think the models might be different, and that might be why you're seeing a few more Americans than we have in the past. And plus, hockey's obviously evolved hugely in the United States as to when I was playing as a youth kid, or maybe you were playing, Rod, or whoever else. We barely heard of an American kid playing in the NHL or in junior. Now you're hearing them all the time. It's just because hockey's growing. It's a wonderful sport.
There were like 2 when I was a kid, Neil Broughton and Joe Mullen. That's about it. And Derek, last one for you. How close are you following the Regina Pats? Don't know if you heard, they just won the Bantam Draft Lottery last week, and we've got this exceptional player status kid, Connor Bedard, first ever in Western Canadian history to get exceptional player status. And as you probably know, in the OHL, John Tavares and Connor McDavid are the others. And there's a few others than that. But are you following the Pats at all? Because you know what? It's been a pretty good week for your former team.
I didn't catch the draft. I have a close friend that was coaching in Kelowna in the BCJ last year, and he had mentioned that Bedard kid to me and said that the Pats got the first overall pick on him. I guess he's a special player. I haven't had an opportunity to see him, but from what I've heard, these kids come around once in a lifetime, and I think there's no better organization from when I was with the Pats to bring a player in. It's a wonderful city. I still talk to my friends, and everybody always asks you, what's your favorite part of playing hockey? It was playing in Regina with the Pats. We had a wonderful group of kids, and if they're creating that atmosphere, which it looks like they are from what I've been following on Twitter and everything about the guys, this kid's going to do something special, and I hope that it gives them the Memorial Cup that I was unfortunate to win there. So I think it can change the whole dynamic of the program with one kid. That's how strong this is for this program, if this kid is what is believed to be. And I don't think you get exceptional status in hockey unless you are that type of player. So I think he'll change that whole entire dynamic and put them on the right road to winning a Memorial Cup here.
There's no doubt. They are doing the right things, and I just love them so much. From our producer, one more question, Mo. Clark wants to know, who was your favorite D partner throughout your career?
Oh, man. I was very fortunate. I played with some great ones. When I came to Phoenix in 2004, I believe it was, don't quote my memory, but in 2004, I had an opportunity to start playing with younger kids. So I played with a kid like Keith Ballard for a few years, who went on to Florida. And then I ended up having an opportunity to play with Keith Yandel. And Keith Yandel and I played on and off for 6 or 7 years together, mostly on. And he was probably one of the easiest defensemen I ever had to play with. I don't know if we thought the same or we just understood the game the same way, but every time I'd get the puck, I knew where he was, or if he got the puck, he knew where I was. And the key to being a good defenseman, and I believe lasting a long time in what you do in your sport, is how do you play with your partner. It's not what you do on your own. You're going to have those automatically, but it's what you do with your partner. And playing with Keith Yandel, I knew if I was a defenseman on a neutral zone regroup that I could hold the puck, bring that forward over to me just where it was out of his reach, and then give it to Keith and activate him offensively. So we always had ways of thinking the same way. So I feel, obviously I don't really have a favorite, but if I looked at one player that if I had an opportunity to play with my whole life, I'd probably pick Keith Yandel.
Derek, this interview has been a long time coming, but it's been outstanding. I appreciate the time. Thanks for all your support. And next time through Arizona, I'm going to be looking you up.
Yeah, please do. I'd love to catch up. I think I was looking back at the other day, and I think I'm 95, 96 was my first year in Regina, then 96, 97 was my second. So it's been 23 years there, big fella.
I know, far too long. Thank you, Derek. Hey, enjoy the rest of your day down there in Scottsdale.
I will, thanks.
Derek Morris joining us today from my favorite state.
I'm so glad we persevered.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.